The fuel prices going up yesterday drastically, and the explanation that was given by government is not accurate, because blaming the global oil prices is falling short of what the reality is. Because last year, for the last 1 year, the highest fuel prices we have seen were actually in June 17th of 2024. And in this calendar year, the highest prices we have seen were actually in January. But having said that, it is important for us to know that out of what Kenyans pay at the pump in terms of fuel prices, around half of that money is in terms of taxes and levies. Over 80 shillings of what people pay for petrol prices, over 80 shillings goes into taxes and levies. And of what Kenyans pay for other products or fuel other than petrol, over 76 shillings again goes into taxes and levies. In an oil-producing country like Kenya, the only tool a government is left with is altering the levies and taxes. This is where the problem is. The government of Kenya actually added a new levy last year of 7 shillings in the fuel prices. And how the government works is that time when the fuel prices are coming down, actually that's the reason why Kenyans never felt the global deceleration of the oil prices. Because it's around that time that the government introduced a secret 7 shillings in fuel levy. That is partly one of the problems why the fuel prices are going up. But the more unfortunate bit is that this year, the government has taken that 7 shillings, taken to the banks as security, and then they have taken a loan of 175 billion shillings. This money is not reflecting in the government books as a debt. And therefore, it can only pass as an illegal debt. Because whatever is not accounted for as a debt, then any other debt is illegal. There has been a lot of secrecy around securitization, because these questions we have asked them even in Parliament, even the people in the Treasury don't seem to know. Some of the questions we are asking, how much money is the government actually borrowing? Because even the 175 is from different sources other than the official source. Secondly, what is the interest rate? Third, after 7 years, which is the period at which they are borrowing, how much will the government have paid to these banks? Fourth, is this money sovereign guaranteed? Because it seems to be nowhere in the government books. It actually also never came to Parliament for any ratification. The problem of this is that we now have the government spending money in advance. They have already collected money in advance for the next 7 years. So if Kenyans demand lower fuel prices, and you've already taken loans using the levies and taxes, how are you going to alter the pump fuel prices? Because the only tool you have is taxes and levies, and it is the one that you've already securitized. And this securitization term is another dogma that is being brought around to confuse Kenyans. It is important for the government to be prudent. It is not fair, because we want to be clapped for today. We add fuel prices. We actually go to the banks and take loans using the same levy, which in a bad day is what Kenyans will demand it gets lowered for the fuel prices at the pump to actually be managed. The other thing I want to highlight is that beyond the people in the National Treasury who are clearly engaging in an illegality of borrowing money and hiding that borrowing, even the banks that are lending money using this securitization issue, they need to answer questions to their shareholders. This money you are lending, how is it secured? If the fuel levy in terms of what Kenyans pay is only created through a gazette notice by a memorandum from the cabinet secretary, What if another cabinet secretary gives the one that lowers the levies, which the banks are already holding as security for the loans? And lastly, in the affairs of financial management, you must never favor any of your creditors, because what basically you are doing is to open a floodgate. If you securitize fuel levy, like the one they are doing, the 7 shillings, they're in the process of doing another 5. Then what if now a Chinese lender comes and they want to securitize our VAT? And another one comes, a lender, they want to securitize our payee. What will be left for the government to do, the governments that are in power or that come to power? It is important for Kenyans to know that the explanation that was given in terms of fuel prices is actually not true. The truth is introduction of new levies, but more importantly, the illegal borrowings that are happening around fuel levy. The questions I'm asking, or the voice I am airing, it is just for the love of the country. Because if we do the same on all the other funds, the government is doing the same in terms of sports fund, we do the same in terms of fuel levy, then where is the flexibility for the governments to make decisions on how to expend their money when the government that is currently there is already spending money in advance? What if the other government that was there did the same, securitized the money in terms of all the taxes? Then what will be the role of the government now? Which decisions would they be making when the money is actually not available?